Adam, muchísimas gracias por estar hoy con nosotros. Termina nuestro ciclo de entrevistas y vamos a cerrar con broche de oro conversando con Adam Gray de DLA Ignite, que es una empresa dedicada a la transformación de organizaciones desde una perspectiva digital. Adam, it's a pleasure really to be today with you.
Thank you, Lorena.
We are closing our interview cycle this year, so we would like to share with our audience your thoughts and your impressions and maybe your lessons learned during this year regarding digital organizations, digital first, and all that you can tell us to improve our digital presence and to be better on digital.
I would be delighted to.
Adam, we have prepared some words. Tell you one, and I would like to have your response or your thoughts very briefly and very direct to our audience. So let's start, please. Okay, the first one is pandemic.
Yeah, well, I think this is really an interesting time, because I think that it's changed so many behaviors in people. And what it has done is clarified some of the challenges that were already facing businesses. So I think businesses recognized that events were not working particularly well, that cold calling wasn't working particularly well, that email wasn't working particularly well, but they continued doing those things because they didn't have anything really to replace them with. And the pandemic has really brought that to a head, and many organizations now have to find a different way of generating conversations with people, which they ultimately can turn into business. So whether you're in manufacturing or in law or in real estate or in services, it doesn't matter. In the B2B space, you don't sell anything without having a conversation with somebody.
Digital business.
Well, I think that organizations need to think about what being a digital business means. You know, this is not about having a website and having an email list. This is about using digital tools to do those things that people need to do anyway. So, you know, you want to talk to people. You know, where you want to talk to people within your company and with prospects and with clients, and digital makes that happen a lot easier. So simply posting something on social or sending an email out to somebody is nice, but we need to measure the success we have from that to know whether or not it's working or not. And then we need to test things to see whether or not, if I do a social post which is friendly or a social post which is businesslike, which one works best. Which one gets the most views and gets the most interaction. And that should drive our behavior. And the great thing about digital, of course, is that we can measure all of those things, every single touch point, and we can measure them in real time as well. So we don't have to guess what's working, we know what's working and what isn't.
Your preferred social media platform?
Well, for me, it's always been LinkedIn. I love the fact that LinkedIn is like a small website for each person. You can have as much content about yourself as you want. You can tell as complete a story as you want to tell. You can publish as much content as you want. You can connect to people and you can see what they say about themselves. So always LinkedIn. I live in LinkedIn. It is where I spend most of my time. It's where I publish most of my content, because not only is it, I think, the most effective business-to-business platform, it works for me. You know, the way that I operate, LinkedIn fits very nicely with that.
Legal services and social media.
Well, I think that every industry, I think that they think their industry is different. You know, so legal services say, yeah, but social isn't right for us. But social is right for legal services. And the reason it is because lawyers are people. and people need to talk to other people to work out whether or not they can do business together and work together, and whether or not they're a good fit. And social is the best platform or the best tool to enable that to happen. So I can work out quickly whether or not you and I are a good fit for us to be able to work together or not. And if we are, great, we'll work together. And if we're not, we can walk away and find someone that is a good fit for us. And I think that lawyers need to just relax and be themselves. This is not about giving free advice, but this is about giving part of yourself in the same way you would in an event or in a social environment where you can talk to people and they can get to know you. So perfect for the legal sector.
Empowerment.
Well, empowerment is one challenge that people have to overcome on every social network. This is not about being good at what you do. This is not about being able to tell a good story. This is about believing that you have something to say that people want to hear. So like going to the gym to get fit, you have to believe that you will be fit this time next year if you go to the gym every day. If you don't believe it, you won't go to the gym. So you have to be empowered. You have to feel that you have something to say that your audience wants to hear. You have to have a plan for how you can use these tools. And you need to be yourself, because you are the most valuable thing that you have to offer.
Good content.
Good content is content that people like and engage with. And particularly for people in the legal sector, that's sometimes quite a difficult thing to kind of understand. So you may write a fantastic article and publish it, and nobody engages with it, and nobody views it, and nobody reads it. So it doesn't matter how good it wasn't a good article. If, however, you publish something and everybody likes it, that was a good article. So this is like the content equivalent of a pop song. You know, Fleetwood Mac have sold more records than Mozart. That's not because their music is better, it's because people like it more. So you have to create content that people actually want to consume. So that is whether the content is good or not.
Engagement.
Well, it's all about engagement. You know, it's all about starting those conversations. If I publish a piece of content and it's seen by 1,000 people, I don't know who those 1,000 people are. So that's of no use to me, because I can't be in charge of the direction that goes in. If people engage with my content and they like it, or they comment on it, or they share it, I know exactly who those people are. So I can send those people a message and say, hello, thank you for liking my piece of content. And engagement is the key to being able to take proactive action when something happens, rather than just sitting back and hoping that things will come to you. So engagement is key.
The magic word, measurement and return on investment.
Yeah, always there will be a number of indicators for whether you are doing a good job on digital and particularly in social. And the ultimate measure of success is, have you sold more products or services when you're doing it than before you did it? But often, particularly for complex or high value deals, there's quite a long deal cycle time. So if it takes you a year to sell your product or service, you can't expect to see money in 2 months. So what people need to do is they need to think about what are the early indicators for being successful and how can we measure those. So for example, on social, on LinkedIn, you might say the early indicators are, how many people am I connected to in the accounts that I want to be seen in? How many pieces of content have I published? How many views have I had on those pieces of content? And then there's the response that you get from that. How many people have engaged with those pieces of content? and how many conversations have I been able to get from that engagement? And then ultimately, how much of that has led to proposals and ultimately to pipeline and deals. And the longer you do it for and the more carefully you measure these things, the more understanding you have of where what you're doing is working and where it isn't, and the greater visibility you have and greater accuracy you have on forecasting those deals.
Success story in business transformation.
Well, we see that the biggest difference between success and failure is whether or not companies really embrace this. So we have a number of companies that we work with, and not everybody in the company gets it. And some people do, and those people see success. So one of the clients that I'm currently working with, some of the people that I'm coaching are getting job offers, getting deals, closing business, getting visibility as a result of doing stuff. You know, they've connected to lots of new people, they've published lots of good content, they've had lots of good conversations. There are other people that have done some changes and then done nothing. And those people have seen no results. And the more people that make these changes, the more that becomes transformational within a business. So we have a number of clients that have seen social particularly as being key to their future and key to their development as a business. And they're using social not just to sell more things or to market themselves, but to recruit new people, to find new investors, to open new offices, because it's a very natural conversational way of doing things. And it enables them to identify who wants to work with us, because if somebody wants to work with us, that's more likely to become a good client because we will get on well together and be aligned in what we're trying to achieve.
What's coming on 2022?
I think one of the biggest things that we can see coming over the horizon is going to be this whole idea of the metaverse. You know, we had the internet 1.0 websites and brochures online. We had the internet 2.0, which was social and interactive content. And next we have internet 3.0, which is going to be immersive content, where you can go, as can everybody else, to virtual events and sit in virtual rooms surrounded by virtual people, which means that you can use your time much more effectively. You know, if you want to fly from Peru to Washington to have a meeting, it takes you a day to get there. It takes you 2 hours for the meeting, and it takes you a day to get home again. So that's taken you 2 days to have a 2-hour meeting. The idea that you can just go into a virtual environment and have a meeting, you can have a 2-hour meeting or go to a 2-hour event whilst you're sitting at your desk, and it only takes you 2 hours to do that. So I think we'll see huge increases in efficiency, and I think that it will be a very important time where businesses can gain a competitive advantage. If you're the first person there, you can go and learn when nobody's looking. You can develop a footprint. You can buy that real estate. If you had bought law.com or lawyer.com at the beginning of the internet, you would be the most popular site for legal stuff. So the idea that you can do the same thing in the metaverse, you can own areas, is really exciting. And people will continue to move into the digital world. 10 years ago, people didn't meet others and do deals on social. Now they do. And I think we will see that continue to accelerate as people become more comfortable with using these tools. You know, now everybody I know is on LinkedIn and on Facebook and on Twitter. 10 years ago, not everybody I knew was on those platforms. And that will continue to happen. And an interesting statistic is that from July 2020 to July 2021, another 520 million people joined social media. So it's not like the growth is slowing, the growth is continuing to accelerate, and people are spending more and more of their time and more of their lives in those platforms. So any business that wants to be competitive in 2022 and beyond needs to have a very robust strategy and a clear plan for what they're going to do in those spaces.
Thank you, Adam. My last question is, what about personal relationships and face-to-face meetings in this digital world and metaverse world?
I think that we will see the trend for online still growing, but there is a place for face-to-face meetings as well. But I think that the thing to remember is that people will travel and invest the time in face-to-face meetings for people that they want to have those face-to-face meetings with. So, you know, I've known you for 3 years, however long it is. We've spoken hundreds of times. I've never met you face-to-face. But despite that, I feel that you're my friend. You know, when I do meet you, I will give you a hug rather than shake your hand because I kind of know you. And this ability to build a working relationship and a friendship in these platforms, I think is incredibly important. And it will be the way that people meet. And I think that it's worth remembering that in the old days, when everything was done face-to-face, you would go to an event and you would meet 100 people, 95 of those people you didn't want to work with. So you would have a huge amount of wasted time and effort. Now, you can meet all of those people virtually and through these other networks and decide whether you want to invest the time in meeting them face-to-face. So that time will become more valuable for both parties. And I think that's really important.
I agree with you, Adam, and I'm really looking forward to go to UK and to meet you and DLA and all the people that I've met
it will be fantastic. Yeah.
Really. Thank you very much, Adam. It was a great conversation. It was a great information. So we'll keep in touch. Have a wonderful Christmas and a wonderful
you too.
year.
Thank you.